Picture a small wooden scoop tapping against the inside of a pantry bag, the hush of late afternoon light, and then the first tiny pop, barely louder than a coin on a table. Tonight, we'll coax sweetness, crunch, and warmth from one small pot of sorghum. In just an hour or so, you'll have a tiny jar of syrup to drizzle, a single cup of popped sorghum to nibble slowly, and a warm bran compress to rest over tired hands or shoulders. Let's make something small and steady.
Welcome back to Earthy Remedy. I'm Fiona, and today we're rescuing a humble bag of sorghum into 3 tiny rituals. The full recipe card and a safety checklist are in the show notes. Please download that if you're cooking along. If you like these quiet, practical kitchen projects, a quick subscribe helps us keep making them. All right, ready to get cozy with grain?
First, let me tell you a small pantry story. I once found a forgotten bag of sorghum tucked behind containers, a little sad and perfectly usable. Maybe you have one too, an ingredient that feels a little foreign or too bulky to use in large amounts. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. We hang on to food items because we mean well, but they can feel intimidating. Tonight's episode is a tiny rescue mission. 1 small jar, 1 small cup, 1 small compress. No waste, no fuss.
Now, let me explain the science, just the part that matters in the kitchen. Sorghum is a small, hard grain with a dense endosperm. When you apply low, steady heat to a liquid made from sorghum or to a sorghum mash, the sugars and mild starches concentrate and develop those soft caramel notes. That's why gentle heat deepens flavor instead of making things better. And for popping, sorghum grains have a tiny bit of trapped moisture. As the kernel heats, that moisture turns to steam, expands, and pop. The grain puffs. The physics is simple. Heat, a sealed lid to catch pressure, and a quick release make that playful crunch.
Culturally, sorghum has been used across Africa, Asia, and the Americas for porridges, syrups, flatbreads, and snacks. It's resilient and forgiving in the pantry, which is why I love bringing it into these small rituals. It's both familiar and slightly unexpected on the tongue.
Who is this for tonight? If you have grain sensitivities, celiac disease, or a diagnosed gluten issue, please skip the compress and the eaten grain, unless a provider gives the all clear. If you have oat-like cross-reactivity or are unsure, adapt with a different grain or simply enjoy the syrup as a drizzle on fruit. And if you have any skin conditions, do not apply compresses to broken or inflamed skin. We want these to be culinary and sensory rituals, not medical treatments.
A quick overview of yields and what you'll make. The sorghum syrup will yield about 100 to 150 milliliters, a single 4-ounce jar. The popped sorghum is a 1-cup serving, perfect for mindful munching. The warm bran compress uses a small handful, 2 to 3 tablespoons of sorghum bran or cooked grain, to make roughly 60 to 120 milliliters of strained infusion for a cloth compress. We'll walk each of these step by step.
Let's read ingredient lists slowly. If you're pausing to gather things, now is a good moment. For sorghum syrup, 1 cup of sorghum cooking liquid or 1 cup of thin sorghum mash, plus 1/4 cup of maple syrup or cane sugar. Substitutions. If you don't have maple, use light honey or more sugar. If you only have dried sorghum, you can simmer 1/4 cup in water and use that cooking liquid. For popped sorghum, 1/4 cup dried whole grain sorghum. For the warm bran compress, 2 to 3 tablespoons sorghum bran or 1 small handful of cooked sorghum plus 250 milliliters of water. Also have a pinch of salt on hand for the snack and a teaspoon of neutral oil for popping. Equipment: a small heavy-bottomed pot, a heavy skillet with a tight-fitting lid for popping, a fine sieve or cheesecloth, a sterilized 4-ounce jar for the syrup, a muslin cloth or small towel for the compress, tongs and oven mitts, and a thermometer if you like to check temperatures. If you don't have a thermometer, that's fine. I'll give you sensory cues. Okay, step by step. We'll start with the sorghum syrup. Step 1. Combine 1 cup of sorghum cooking liquid or thin mash with 1/4 cup maple syrup in your small pot. Turn the heat to low to medium-low. The key here is patience. This is a gentle reduction. Step 2. Stir once, then let it come to the smallest, quietest of simmers. You should see tiny, slow bubbles at the edges, not a rolling boil. Step 3. Simmer gently for about 10 to 12 minutes, and listen. When you tilt a spoon and drag it across, the puddle should leave a thin film that slowly seals back together. That's the stop condition. Remove from heat when that film forms. Step 4. Cool slightly, then pour into your sterilized jar. Let it cool to room temperature, then refrigerate within 2 hours. Use within 10 to 14 days, and discard if you notice cloudiness, fizz, or an off smell.
A few quick syrup tips. Keep the heat low. If it starts to smell bitter, it's too hot. Scrape the bottom gently with your spoon while simmering to avoid scorching. And remember that the syrup will thicken a little as it cools. If it becomes too firm, warm gently before using. This is a light pantry-style drizzle, not a thick molasses, so aim for a thin coating on the spoon. Next, popped sorghum. Safety first. Popping uses hot oil and fast heat. Use a heavy pan with a tight lid, keep a clear workspace, have oven mitts ready, and a bowl nearby for the popped grain. Step 1. Pour just enough neutral oil to make a 2 to 3 millimeter layer in your skillet, about a teaspoon or 2. Heat the pan over medium-high, but pay attention. Oil heats quickly. Step 2. Test with 1 teaspoon of grains first. Put that teaspoon in, cover, and listen. If it pops steadily within 20 to 30 seconds, your pan is ready. Step 3. Add the remaining 1/4 cup of sorghum. Cover, and once the popping begins, gently shake the pan every 10 to 15 seconds so kernels don't scorch. Step 4. After about 2 to 3 minutes of steady popping, when the pops slow to more than a second or 2 between, remove from heat, lift the lid carefully away from you, and dump into your bowl. Season with a small pinch of salt or a sprinkle of cinnamon if you like. Common popping mistakes: using too much oil, leaving the lid off, or overheating so kernels burn. If your oil sputters at any point, step back, remove from heat, and let it calm before continuing. Wear an apron if you're worried about splatter. Remember, the goal is a light, crisp nibble, not to recreate a movie popcorn scene. Finally, the warm bran compress. This is the tactile pause, pleasant, sensory, and explicitly non-medical. Step 1. In a small pot, simmer 2 to 3 tablespoons of sorghum bran or a small handful of cooked sorghum in 250 milliliters of water for 8 to 12 minutes. Step 2. Strain the liquid through a fine sieve or double-layered cheesecloth into a basin. Step 3. Cool the strained infusion until it's warm to the touch, not hot. Crucially, do a 24-hour skin patch test on the inner forearm before ever applying to a larger area. After that 24-hour test, always check temperature on your inner wrist. If it feels comfortably warm there, fill a muslin cloth, squeeze gently, and apply for 2 to 5 minutes to the area you want to soothe. If any redness, stinging, or unusual sensation occurs, remove immediately. A few compress safety points. Never apply to open wounds or actively inflamed skin. Do not use the compress on anyone who can't reliably report sensation, like small children or someone sedated. And always start with short contact, 2 to 3 minutes, before increasing. The compress is a sensory ritual, not a treatment. Storage and serving. Label that little jar with the date. Syrup keeps refrigerated for 10 to 14 days. Make single jar batches to minimize waste. Popped sorghum is best the same day, but if sealed in an airtight container, you can keep it up to 48 hours. Expect it to soften with time. The strained infusion for the compress should be refrigerated and used within 48 hours. Always reheat gently and test temperature before use. Discard anything that smells off, looks fizzy, or develops mold. If in doubt, toss it and try again. Before we close, a short sensory invitation. If you have a cooled spoon of your syrup nearby, taste the soft caramel. Notice how it lingers. If you have a crisp popped kernel, take a single slow nibble. Let the texture remind you that small things can be satisfying. These are easy, low-waste ways to practice attention. A drizzle, a crunch, a warm cloth. Safety recap in a sentence. Use a heavy pan and lid and test a teaspoon before popping. Simmer syrup on low and stop when a thin film forms on the spoon. Always do a 24-hour skin patch test before using the compress, and refrigerate jars quickly and watch for signs of spoilage. If you have medical questions about allergies or skin conditions, check with a trusted provider. These are kitchen rituals, not medical advice. If this felt doable, try one small sorghum rescue this week. Take a photo of your jar or a short voice note. Tell us which little ritual you tried. We love hearing how you make these ideas your own. And if you enjoyed this quiet project, please subscribe so Earthy Remedy can keep bringing short, practical rituals into your evenings. Thank you for sharing a little of your time and kitchen tonight. Remember, listen to your body. Trust the earth. Feel the difference. I'll see you next time for another small, useful ritual from the pantry.